Hey guys, it's Jessica Borden coming to you with some CMA Comparative Market Analysis tips for FlexMLS. I know that's probably something I get one of the most questions around is CMA. So wanted to show you some things that I used to do when I worked for a team. I actually ran all of our CMAs and put all those together for our listing agents and had all that information prepared ahead of time. So I've done a whole lot of these in my time in real estate and just want to share some things that I used to do in order to make it easier for me. So I am in FlexMLS, and the first thing that I want to show you guys is in the quick search. So I'm going to click on quick search. I always started CMAs by going and doing the search and locating the comps first. So that's what I always did in order to figure out exactly what those comps would look like so that I would be able to pull the kind of the right things for the property. So what I always did is I used to come in and go through all these levers over here and pull and pull and pull either by subdivision or zip code or school district or some of those things, which are all important, and I can show you guys how to add those. But I think the thing that really tended to help me the most is using the pushpin tool. So this pushpin tool is right down here in the bottom corner of the map. So when you're inside of quick search, it's right here in the map. So that's the first thing that I always did is I would hit the locate address button, which is the pushpin, and I would enter the address of the house that I was hoping to compare. So for instance, like I will use, this is an address that I'm going to pull today. So I would pull this address and I would click locate. So it's going to geocode your location. It's going to locate the location on the map so that you can see where that property is. Once that push pin is dropped, if you need to adjust it, you can. You can pick it up and move it. I'm not going to because it put it in the right spot. Sometimes it puts it on the wrong side of the road or just to the right or to the left of where it needs to be. So then you'll click use this location. So it just pinpointed the location. Now I can do a radius search immediately from dropping this pin. So I can click radius search and then you can put in whatever you want it to be. So a mile is actually a really large radius. You don't think that it is, but it is. So I typically would start with half of a mile and create the radius. So it zooms in on it. It's created the radius. We're going to actually back out so you can see how large that radius is. So here is the radius. So right now, inside of this radius where our house is located, our future listing, right, it has just one active listing inside of this search criteria, right? Because it's all that's entered in as far as criteria for single family is active. As a reminder, before you get started with this, if you were comping multifamily land rentals, etc., you would want to change this first. So I was, of course, was just figuring we would be looking at single family today. So looking at this, we have one active listing inside our circle. With comparables, though, we want to know what's active. We want to know what the competition is, but we don't only want to know that. We also want to know what is under contract, what is pending, what is contingent, right? We want to know what is closed in a certain time frame. So in this method, you can pull active, you can pull pending, contingent, closed, right? So that way you're able to go in and see what all the activity looks like inside of the circle. So now you can see there's a whole lot more activity going on. Sold date. So once I have all those other things in here with the active, pending, contingent, closed, the sold date, you probably don't want to go as far back as a year with a basic single family property. Sometimes you have to go back that far, but you don't probably have to do that regularly. I think 6 months or even 3 months, depending on how much turnover is happening in that neighborhood, right? So 6 months back. So let's go. That'll be March, February, January, December, November, October. So we will do 10/01/2019. Okay. So now we are down to 20 search criteria. There's 20 results in our search criteria. Now remember, all we've done is in our status and time frame. Okay. So from here, this is where you can start pulling the levers. 20 is probably way too many results. And if you know this area, you'll know that some of these properties out here and some of these properties here or over here are not really comparable to this street, right? So we need to kind of drill that down a little bit. So you could start coming in and pulling levers. So maybe you want to do 3 or more bedrooms, you want to do 2 or more bathrooms, you want to do a square footage range. So I know this property that I was looking at is 2,300 square feet, so I might want to do like 1,800 to like 2,600, just to kind of get a better picture. So now we're down from 20 to 13. And then maybe I want to do something around year built. I want to do anything year built before 1985. So now we're down to 7. Okay. So that was some really easy kind of strategies around pulling comparable properties. Now, from here, you would want to look at the photographs, you would want to look at the detail in order to see kind of what's going on with the properties and to see how comparable they are. There is a fast way for you to do this at a glance. You can click List. So we've gone from the search screen to the list screen, okay? So you can see the houses that are in our criteria circle, right? So inside of our little circle, you can see those now in the list. However, you may not see everything on this list that you would want to see in order to make sure you're pulling really great comparables. That's where your view comes in. You can actually create new views, right? So I actually have a couple of views that I've created. So I have comparables view, okay? And then I have a comp view. Those are some that I've created, okay? So they're gonna look a little bit different, probably have a lot of the same information. But basically what happens is that you can create a new view to show you the information that's important. See how much different this is in the last screen. So in order to do that, you would click View. And then you want to go ahead and name it. So CMA View, right? That's all you have to change is the description. You can change this if you want to, but you don't have to. So you just want to make sure you name it what you want it to be. Then you're going to click on Fields. And you're going to look over here and see what fields don't really matter. Okay, so the listing agent and listing office, those don't really matter. The open house field probably doesn't matter. Property type, property subtype, that matters. Subdivision, year built, square footage, bedrooms, bathrooms, cumulative days on market, current price, list price, all that kind of stuff is important, right? So what are some other things that would be important, right? Let's think about, let's see here. I'm trying to figure out. So maybe schools are important for you. So you want to see what the schools are. Okay. Maybe you want to see the half baths versus the full baths. You want to see if something has a fireplace or not. You can pull anything over that you need to, right? So maybe you want to see things that are split foyer, split level, or tri-levels because they're going to be the most comparable, right? So you're going to be able to see that information. So you could come in here and you could add anything in here. I'm actually going to take those out because I don't think those are really valuable. You can pull any of this information from over here, and you can also search. Like if you don't know the name of something, you could search for the word bed and you could see, like maybe you want to see where the master bedroom level is. Is it main level? Is it second level? Is it third level? Where is it? So you can look at those kinds of things. The other thing is that you can pull this information and move it around. So I can move my bathrooms up there next to my bathrooms, right? Full and half. I can drag them up here so that I have all that together, okay? So some of those other things that you might want to have is sold price square feet, list of sold price square feet, sold date, sold price, right? You may want to have all those kinds of informations available to you. I'm going to take out fireplace too. So I think it's really important to be able to see all of these things. Okay. So once you've kind of moved all those things around, added all those fields that you wanted, you can hit save. And then you now have a CMA view that tells you all the information that you really need. So looking at this, I could see quickly that this property is not probably the most comparable property right here, because it's in a different neighborhood. It's a totally different style. It's totally different type of house. So when you're looking through here, you could go in and you could just go in and select the houses that really compare well to it. And there's the actual house itself. So sometimes the house itself will come up the last time it sold. So that's always good to have, right? And then you can go through and select all of those comps that really match it, okay? So we're going to select all of those that match. And now we have 5 really good ones that match. And we can just view those 5 by clicking selected. So now that we have our properties that we have pulled, right? And you can go over to the CMA tool and then begin to work through CMA processes. So inside of the CMA menu, you're going to have some different things. You have a one-line CMA, which really just kind of gives you basically what I have just built for you in the CMA view. It just gives you that kind of information. And you can view it, you can just download it, or you can download it landscape, which if you are going to do this, I recommend you always download those landscape, because otherwise they're going to cut off on the pages. But this is just kind of that one-line overview, which is this list view kind of concept that I've already built for you by showing you how to change the view. So up here, when you're working with CMAs, there's 3 different types of CMAs that you can build outside of the one line. And if you have selected specific results, right, then you want to use the selected results. If you were going to use all 7 results, you could use all results, okay? So just make sure that you choose the correct one of these options when you are doing this, okay? And so if I click Use Selected, now I have choices. I have a full CMA, a quick CMA, and a statistical CMA. So it's going to explain to you below each of these when are the kind of the right times to use them. I think there's really no right or wrong time to use things. I think it's just a matter of choosing the one that is going to provide the data the most accurately for you and easiest for you to explain. So I think if you're working with an engineer, you may just want to roll with the statistical, even though it says useful for buyers. It's really, really easy to read, and it's kind of got all the numbers in a row, very easy for people to read. But you have the full CMA, which gives you the ability to actually add the subject property. The quick CMA, which doesn't have a subject property. Basically, quick CMAs are great if you have a property that's never been listed before, or maybe a new construction kind of situation where it's not in the MLS at all, where you can pull it in. I typically always recommend using full. Okay. So when you click on full and you click next step, this is going to walk you through all of these tabs of information that you're going to fill in. Okay. So you have a cover page that it creates for you. So you can create it and say for John Smith and or whoever the name is of the person. You can use the current date, or always use a current date, change the date, whatever you want it to be. You can select who it is. So select yourself, right? You can put comments in here. This is what I found about your house, blah, blah, blah. So from here, you will go to the bottom and click next step. This is where it allows you to add the subject property. What I love about this is it gives you the opportunity to auto-populate it from an existing listing. So if your house that you're trying to list has been listed before, you could pull in the information down here in the fields from an existing listing. So the best way to do that is to come up to your quick launch bar and then see that the last time this house closed, the MLS number was 1314857. Okay, so then you'll click auto populate. So 4857. Cancel. 4857. If you needed to open it, you could always just open this in a new tab and it will open a new tab where you'll have all that information. Probably not a bad idea, okay? So from here, I've entered my MLS number, and when I submit that, it pulls the picture, it pulls the information, everything in from the past listing. You can come in and edit something if you see something blatantly incorrect, but otherwise it will be exactly what you need it to be. So from here, you can click Next Step. This is where it pulls in those comparables that you had already selected. So you're not having to go in and add or figure out how to do it from here. You've already pulled in what you had done the work on, okay? Maybe you accidentally clicked Use All instead of Use Selected, and there was a couple in here that weren't correct. You could come in and you could just remove them, or you could totally or uncheck them so that they don't show up in the report. But there's some, great ways for you to be able to remove something you didn't want. So from here, your next step is adjustments. I will go ahead and tell you, I don't have an appraiser's license, and most of you probably don't either. So I would go ahead and skip adjustments. If you have questions about adjustments or anything around that, I would say talk to your coach because they'll have some words of wisdom around that. So next step. Next step gives you a summary. And remember, as CMA, all it's really trying to accomplish is give you a range of values because you have like the low end, right? You have the high end and you have a mid-range. So the low end would be, I need to sell my house quick and or my house needs lots of updates. The high end would be is I don't have to sell my house in a hurry and my house is amazing and the most updated, best house on the block, okay? And then there's something in the middle. So what this creates for you is a low, average, median, and high on this page. So you're able to see that range of values, that the range of values is somewhere between 188,000 and 245,000, right? So it's giving you those comparable pieces, okay? So the next thing that you're going to do is click Next Step, and you're going to see the recommendation, which gives you that range of values. So it gives you a recommended price of $211,133 on this particular property. So I think it's really important when you do go and attempt to explain this to your seller that it's giving you a range of values, and that even though the recommended comes in literally as an average between the two, you could be somewhere between here and here, or somewhere between here and here, or you could maybe even be a little bit above that. It just really kind of depends on the properties, right? So just make sure that you know how to explain your range of values, okay? From here, if you click Next Step, it takes you to the finish. So the finish tells you all of the things that you're able to print or add to your report. I always pretty much leave everything as default. The only thing that I typically do is I make sure that it's the public report, not the private report, because I don't want to see other agents' names on my report. So from here, I could view it before I save it, email it, or download it, okay? So I'm just going to click View, and it's going to show your cover sheet, right? And it's going to go through the map of the properties, all of the houses that you showed them as possible comparables, okay? Shows you the location, shows you if it's a sold, gives you kind of like a map key there. And then it shows side by side your subject property with your comparables. So they're able to look across and see all of those comparables that the house was compared against. It then shows them an analysis of each of those properties, shows you how they got the recommended price based on average. The median was actually 200, so you can kind of show them there's a range of values here. So we just need to find the best pricing point between these ranges. Okay, so it gives you all the summary and the listing price recommendation information, as well as each individual report. So if they want to ask you a specific question about the house, they may say, well, what was the square footage of 2502, that kind of thing. So then you would be able to easily pull that up and get that information. So that is the way that I run CMAs, and that's the tips and tools that I would recommend to you as you guys get started on those processes. And remember, it's not an exact science. Running a CMA does not necessarily mean that this house can only be valued here, right? It's just giving you a range of values in order to help you better estimate the sales price of the house. So those are the things that I personally used to do. I do want to show you a couple of other quick things while we are working. I'm going to click return to search results because I'm not saving this one. All right, so the last thing I really wanted to show you is that if you were pulling specific levers and you did not want to use the circle, I'm going to take that off. So we're starting with active, pending, contingent, closed, same range of dates and everything. You could pull by subdivision, right? So I could pull by subdivision. I could also pull, let me undo this really quickly. Oops. Doesn't want to uncheck. There we go. I could also pull by zip code 37421. And I could also pull by adding a field such as elementary school. So, oops, my bad. Let's find Wolftiver. Okay. So now I can pull by that. There's a lot of different ways that you can pull your comparables. So I still have 22 listings coming up with Wolftiver and with the zip code, with the bedroom, bathroom, square footage, and year built, right? So I still have more. Just remember that if you use the circle and the circle doesn't get you what you want, you could actually expand the circle, right? You could change the circle from a half mile to a mile, or you could take the circle away altogether and run it this way to where you're using other criteria to pull a different list of comparables. You can run the same thing that we did before and go to the list view, stick with your CMA view, and then be able to pull the search, right? You'd be able to pull the search. I'm surprised that that house was built in 1985. Doesn't look like it, does it? It's very interesting. So in here, you would be able to then come in and pull your comparables as it stands using these different criteria. So I hope that this has proved helpful for you as you guys embark on creating CMAs. If you have questions, you're always welcome to reach out to me and help me, or reach out to me and I'll help you. I can't talk today. Reach out to me and I'll help you any way that I can. I hope you guys have a great day and a great rest of your week. Talk with you soon.